In 1998, just after the launch of Nutrilite in China, I journeyed with my oldest daughter and son to Shanghai with a video crew to locate my father's residence in China, where he first began his early experimentations on food supplementation. It was a fantastic trip, and out of it came a video titled The Life and Times of Karl Renborg. It has been shown around the world to distributors and potential customers for many years. Our dream has continued to flourish. Today, China is the #1 customer for Nutrilite, and the product is sold in more than 50 countries. The world has certainly awakened to the importance of the concepts that my father expressed so eloquently more than 75 years ago. Please enjoy the video and set your goals to take your business to greater heights. Thank you.
Karl Renborg was a visionary prepared to chase his dream at nearly any cost. The vision was that health could be improved by simple means. Karl Franklin Renborg was the son of a traveling Swedish jeweler from whom he inherited a love of travel. In 1915, bored and in need of adventure, he took off for China. But as Karl traveled around, he saw that culture dictated what people ate. Renborg was a man with acute powers of observation. He noticed that Chinese peasants who ate mostly fresh vegetables and whole-grain brown rice didn't get diseases like scurvy or beriberi. These diseases affected the more affluent Chinese, those who could afford meats and husked white rice.
His idea for supplement, didn't come about in just one day. It was based upon, probably a decade of observations. He saw all these things as part of a puzzle.
Chinese herbalism rests on the idea of putting something back into the body which is missing, yin and yang. This idea fascinated Karl. It was so different from Western medical thinking, where all diseases were assumed to come from outside agents. Remembering experiments Carnation had done on the effects of feeding cows alfalfa, Karl theorized that perhaps alfalfa was a form of health food, containing balanced nutrition. He began to consider how to process it for human consumption.
His whole concept was that he could develop a supplement made from plant materials to help bring the diet back into balance. Not only the plant materials, but it was the minerals that were in things like milk and oils that you'd find in fish and other types of oil products.
To go a step further and say that perhaps disease could be prevented with a tablet that contained those missing dietary elements would meet with skepticism from traditional science.
The Chinese thought he was pretty interesting. They kind of liked his thought process. The expatriates, the foreigners, thought my father was a screwball.
When Karl was finally able to board a freighter out of China, he realized that he had been given the idea of a lifetime. Karl landed in California in 1927, 40 years old and with $24 in his pocket. Subsisting by odd jobs, he threw himself into his work, experimenting with alfalfa, watercress, and even parsley extracts. Karl was working 17 or 18-hour days, but it took until 1934, 7 full years since his return from China, before he had something he could hope to sell. His first product, which he simply called a food supplement, had 3 components: a plant concentrate, a chewable mineral tablet, and a fat-soluble oil product which was rich in vitamins A and E. Karl knew he was on the right track. In 1939, Karl set up shop in a small building in a rundown section of Los Angeles. It was in a scientific journal he stumbled across the name Nutrilite. 2 months later, he was incorporated under the name Nutrilite. Finally, the self-taught scientist enrolled on a sales course. The idea was to let successful distributors recruit other distributors, and everyone would share in the profits. It was the birth of multi-level marketing. Karl could now focus on perfecting his products. 2 of the most successful distributors in those days were J. Van Andel and Rich DeVos.
This was the heyday of Nutrilite. I mean, sales were going up 100% a year. It was a glorious time.
Remember that when he came out with the Nutrilite supplements, there was no vitamin industry. So he is the father of vitamin industry. He concentrated not only on what people knew about vitamins, but he understood the importance of taking a plant and making an extract, recognizing that there are substances in the extracts that we never know what they do until years later.
Jay Van Andel and Rich DeVos decided to set up their own sales company. They called it Amway. Amway became a tremendous success, branching out with a wide variety of products. Carl was 77 and left day-to-day management of Nutrilite to his wife, his son, and a board of directors.
By 1969, we were probably back up into the $12, $13 million range, and things were looking pretty good again.
But it was Amway who were to push Nutrilite into the global marketplace.
We kept saying, one of these days we ought to have a product of that type in our line. So then it was a question of what were we going to do to get such a product, and Jay and I both agreed that the best thing to do was see if we couldn't make a deal with Nutrilite, because that was the finest product on the market.
They bought the company.
The impact on Nutrilite was sudden, and it was dramatic. Our business went up fourfold overnight.
Amway has opened up international markets. It has brought Carl Renborg's vision full circle. Nutrilite is now available in China. And the vision lives on. All this stemmed from Carl Renborg's remarkable combination of curiosity and tenacity.
He used to tell me that, he said, if you have a dream and you're willing to pursue it, that dream will someday come true.